Oh, so Mark Sloan was the secretly responsible one when it came to birth control, huh? It's kind of wild to think that, considering the guy was sleeping with every woman in Seattle. Yet somehow, he had the fewest pregnancy scares. Maybe he was the one actually using condoms. Think about it. If condoms are 98% effective when used perfectly, and Mark's had, what, around 100 women? So out of all the women he's been with, only 3 ended up pregnant. Sure, he knocked up his best friend, Addison, and got Callie pregnant, but that's still way fewer accidents than anyone else at the hospital. Either he's the only one consistently using protection, or maybe everyone else is doing it a little more than they let on. Then there's Alex Karev, who might be the most responsible guy in the whole hospital. I mean, if we're going by the baby storylines, the twins he had via frozen embryos were a pretty purposeful, though maybe not exactly his, conception. And hey, no oops babies there. But he did start a syphilis outbreak, so that's a thing. Derek and Meredith, they were the condom ad couple, according to Derek. Their babies were planned, or at least not unplanned. So when it comes to responsibility, Derek's got the edge. He never had any pregnancy scares with Addison, and there weren't any surprises when he and Meredith had their kids. Honestly, Derek might just be the most responsible guy in the mix, which is saying something, considering all the other disasters. Now, Mark wasn't totally irresponsible. 3 pregnancies from all those women isn't the worst track record. But he still had a few slip-ups, and when it comes to preventing STDs, he seems to have dodged that bullet entirely. So yeah, he's probably the most condom-savvy out of all the players. Let's take a look at the rest of the gang for comparison. George starts a syphilis outbreak. Alex brings on the syphilis. Mark gets 3 women pregnant, but at least no STDs. Jackson gets April pregnant right before their divorce. Ben knocks up Bailey by accident. Weber gets Adele pregnant by accident. Owen causes 3 unintended pregnancies. Burke has 1 accidental pregnancy. Honestly, Derek is probably the best at birth control here. And surprisingly, Mark's the second most responsible, though he does have those 3 pregnancy incidents under his belt. Maybe Mark was onto something with the condoms. Or maybe the rest of the guys were just way more reckless than we thought. Okay, so let's be real. The chances of Christina Yang coming back are probably somewhere between slim and not happening at all. I mean, Sandra Oh's made it crystal clear that she's done with Grays, like a million times. So yeah, I've pretty much given up on the dream of Yang coming back as a regular or even for a cameo. But hey, here's a thought. When Grays finally wraps up, whenever that happens, whether it's tomorrow or 50 years from now, how perfect would it be if Yang returned for the finale? She gave so much to that character. Blood, sweat, tears, and honestly, a lot of snarky remarks, and she absolutely nailed it. Having her come back for the last episode would be a fitting tribute to the iconic Christina Yang we all love. I've been rewatching the show, and seriously, I miss her so much. So naturally, I'm going to rant for a second. Oh, and Sandra Oh just dropped the bombshell that she's maybe open to returning as Christina Yang. I mean, she went from a hard no to an I don't know, which, let's be honest, is basically a huge step in Grey's Anatomy comeback terms. The finale will probably be a 2-parter, and I'm betting they'll bring back most of the old crew. At least, I really hope they do. So yeah, there's some chance, but it still feels like a long shot. I mean, it all boils down to how much money Shonda and the gang are willing to throw at Sandra to bring back Christina. Anyway, I've got this scenario stuck in my head. Meredith starts showing Alzheimer's symptoms, but is in total denial about it. And, of course, Christina swoops in to convince her to check herself into the same place that took care of Ellis. Classic Christina move, right? The season 21 finale of Grey's Anatomy is shaping up to be a wild ride. Here's a summary of what's been teased so far. Ellen will be back, but Nick, not so much. Expect drama so intense it will leave you gasping for air. The pace? Super fast, with so much going on that you won't be able to catch your breath. Camilla Luddington Joe couldn't even breathe during the table read. She said, "I was holding my breath the whole time." Hearing the ending for the first time was a shock. Those last few pages, oh my god, you guys had a lot to look forward to. As for the comedy, it's all in Joe and Link's hands. They're the only ones providing any comedic relief. So no surprise there, they'll be the source of levity amid all the chaos. Now, for the real drama. Meg Marinis, the showrunner, has hinted that Teddy will do something she's never done before. We're on the edge of our seats just thinking about it. Kim Raver Teddy gushed about it, saying, "It's extraordinary. It's terrifying. It's such a quintessential Grace final. People are going to be on the edge of their seats." Meg has designed this final so well. Every cliffhanger is insane, and it's the perfect setup for season 22. And speaking of cliffhangers, TV Line promises a big one, so get ready to be left hanging. There are rumors Amelia's patient might be caught up in a life-or-death situation, adding even more fuel to the fire. It was also once speculated that Sea of Love would involve water-related chaos, think flooding, Liz in danger. There was even a theory Joe might go into labor at the end of the wedding, but now the baby drama might spill into the beginning of season 22 instead. The new episode title, How I Live, and the vague description have left fans guessing. So there's a lot in store for us, but whatever happens, it's safe to say this final will be one for the books. So was Leah Mark's daughter? I don't know, but I mean, if Leah's about 25 and Mark was in his 40s when he died, it's technically possible, right? And let's not forget, she did say that Mark got her a spot in the intern program because he used to date her mom. After the whole Sloan daughter reveal, I wouldn't be shocked by anything at this point. Why else would the writers toss in this random nugget of information about Leah being connected to Mark? Seems fishy. But wait, Leah also casually mentions that her mom and Mark were together 100 years ago, so definitely not in recent history. But hey, it's a cool fan theory, right? I mean, let's be real, Mark Sloan was a man of many talents. This man is a whore, remember? Not entirely out of the question that he got someone pregnant when he was a teenager and had no clue until Leah showed up at Seattle Grace Mercy death. Let's be honest, Mark probably dated a whole lot of people's mothers, maybe even some sisters, cousins, and of course, several patients. The guy was a walking whore. He didn't need to have fathered everyone out there. So no, I don't think Leah is his kid. But hey, I'm open to it being your headcanon if you want. Honestly though, it's unlikely he unknowingly fathered a second kid. Okay, technically his first if we're talking about teenage Mark. When he found out Sloan Riley was his daughter, he jumped right in, wanting to be part of her life. If Leah was his kid, he wouldn't have just tossed her a spot in the program and called it a day. He probably just did a favor for an old fling and moved on with his life. In the world of Grey's Anatomy, it's hard to imagine any of the main characters escaping potential disciplinary action or losing their medical licenses, considering how often they bend or break the rules. However, there are a few characters who seem to stay mostly on the right side of medical ethics. Doctors who might keep their license in real life. Christina Yang. Christina may have been a bit reckless in her personal life, but professionally, she was meticulous, driven, and often shown excelling in surgeries. She made some questionable calls at times, like her decision to cut corners in order to secure a surgery, like with the heart surgery that almost got her into trouble, but she never went as far as gross malpractice or misconduct. Lexi Gray, despite being a little green in the early seasons, Lexi seemed to approach her work with integrity. She was diligent, learning from her mistakes, and she never seemed to engage in any actions that would have compromised her career. Miranda Bailey. Bailey is a bit of a rule follower and often comes across as the one doctor who sticks to ethics and doesn't get caught up in the drama. While she has had moments of personal mistakes, such as her marriage, her professionalism in the OR, and as a mentor was consistently top-notch. She did make some controversial decisions at times, but nothing severe enough to cost her her license. Richard Weber. Though Richard had his struggles with alcoholism and did make some poor personal decisions, professionally he was always respected and had an impeccable track record. While his tenure as chief had some missteps, his medical practice was always top-notch, and his skills as a surgeon were never in question. Derek Shepherd's actions. As for Derek Shepherd, you're right in thinking that a lot of his controversies were more about how other characters perceived him or the fallout from their actions. However, Derek did make a few questionable calls. The plane crash aftermath. While his actions as a surgeon were praised, after the plane crash, Derek struggled with his own trauma and came dangerously close to making rash decisions that could have jeopardized patient safety. His affair with Meredith. While this wasn't malpractice, it did raise some ethical concerns, especially as it related to his relationship with Addison and his behavior at work. Overstepping as a surgeon. He also had moments where his ego got in the way, and he pushed for surgeries that maybe weren't in the best interest of the patient. But in terms of direct negligence or misconduct, that would have had him losing his license. Derek never crossed that line. His controversies were more related to his personal life, like his tumultuous relationships or the moral dilemmas he found himself in. His surgical abilities, for the most part, were beyond reproach, and most of his drama came from the interpersonal side. In real life, these actions would still raise red flags, but most of these doctors would likely keep their licenses, assuming they didn't actively harm patients or engage in gross misconduct. However, the show definitely stretches the boundaries of what would be acceptable in a real-life hospital setting. Ah, yes, that patient. So there's this whole saga where a woman gets trapped with Bailey during the hospital shooting incident, and months later, she comes back for what was supposed to be a simple operation. Classic, right? But of course, things take a turn. The woman ends up dying after the surgery. Bailey, being Bailey, pushes for an autopsy because naturally she wants answers. Enter the slow, slightly distracted lady doing the autopsy, who's on her phone making calls instead of focusing on what's at hand. Super professional, right? But here's the kicker. Despite all the drama and Bailey's insistence, we never actually find out what caused the woman's death. It's one of those rare, tragic complications that doesn't have an obvious explanation. She just never woke up from the anesthesia, and her organs started to fail. No big reveal, no dramatic cause, just a sad, unlucky turn of events. Classic Grey's Anatomy, always keeping us on our toes. Huh. Did Meredith deserve to be fired? Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, tampering with a clinical trial? No big deal, right? It's not like the patients' lives or the integrity of the entire medical facility were at stake. Derek does a nice job pointing out exactly how much damage she caused, and I can't imagine that, in any real-world hospital or research facility, she'd get a free pass. That kind of move follows you. Good luck trying to get into another intern program with that reputation. And yes, I agree with you about Karev. He absolutely should have snitched. Meredith's whole "I'm the special one and my friend" is more important than the rules mentality was so reckless and arrogant. It's not like she had to pick between saving a friend and a random stranger. She was supposed to be impartial, to follow the rules. She took an oath. If this happened in the real world, there'd be a ton of fallout for everyone involved, whether they were directly guilty or just collateral damage. Meredith had more than one chance to learn and do better, but at some point, you know better. She's a liability. It doesn't matter how good of a surgeon she is. Rules are rules. She couldn't even follow those, so yeah, firing her was definitely deserved. And as for Izzy, let's not even go there. She should be in prison right alongside Meredith, especially with everything she pulled. I'm just saying. Oh, definitely not just you. I mean, come on, when Meredith won that Harper Avery Award, I was absolutely in pieces. There she is, in the spotlight, surrounded by all these doctors who probably underestimated her at some point. And then, boom, she looks out into the crowd and spots her mom's face. It's a whole moment. If you didn't tear up, were you even watching? I'm also currently hormonal and very pregnant, so that certainly didn't help the floodgates from opening. Yeah, Meredith's had her fair share of questionable decisions, but honestly, she's earned every bit of that moment. The girl has been through hell and back, losing loved ones, navigating complicated relationships, and managing to still thrive in a cutthroat career. And the cherry on top? The show really nailed that whole career-driven working mom who can still love her kids thing. I mean, let's be real, that's the kind of representation we need. Ugh, Shane Ross. I hate him. I know it's been discussed endlessly, but seriously, he is the worst. I'm at the episode where Bailey gets married, and he is just so egotistical. The way he says, I was having a fun teacher-student relationship with Kepner, and now she's all over me. Like, shut up, Shane. I'm honestly thrilled he leaves the show. I kinda wish Alex had just done the world a favor when his dad died and taken him out. He totally deserved it. He acts like such a victim all the time. After Brooke died, he couldn't handle the fact that she was just better than him, so he refuses to work in neuro. Like, seriously? And don't even get me started on his weird, forced cheery attitude. It's so annoying it makes me want to punch him in the face so hard my fist hits his heart. Also, I know it was a patient who convinced Shane that April was into him, but come on, he's just so impressionable. But okay, I get it, he sucks. I'm still mad about him being responsible for Heather Brooks' death. But seriously, no one should ever tell someone to harm themselves, even if it's about a fictional character. Just, please don't say that. Shonda said she had plans for Calzona to get back together in season 13 after Sarah's break. But as we all know, that didn't exactly pan out. Surprise, surprise, Callie and Arizona both left the show instead. So what was the grand plan? Callie would waltz back in for Arizona, right? Or maybe she'd return because New York wasn't the fairy tale she thought it would be, and they'd slowly rebuild their relationship. Or, I don't know, something else entirely? What was Shonda's master plan for the ultimate Calzona reunion? I would have loved to know. Personally, I can see Callie showing up on Arizona's doorstep for a classic, dramatic, I'm here for you moment. Picture it. Okay, so imagine this, I'm in New York, and it's been all sunshine and rainbows, but I'm not happy, I came back for you. Cue a kiss and roll credits. We get a few episodes of them living the dream, but let's be real, it's Grey's Anatomy. Drama is coming. It's just a matter of time before they mess everything up, because what's a Calzona reunion without some chaos? But okay, let's be fair, as much as I wish for the grand love story, I honestly don't think Callie would come back for Arizona. I can see her coming back for Sophia. Maybe at first, New York felt like the right choice, but after a while, the homesickness kicks in. Missing Sophia, missing the other mom, because who wouldn't miss the person you use to share your kid with, even if it's complicated? And, let's be honest, Callie had zero support system in New York. So yeah, I could see that pulling her back at first, but that's just the beginning, right? Cue the floodgates of feelings reopening. Now, as much as I'd love to fantasize about a Calzona comeback, I'm honestly not sure if they could bounce back after the custody battle. Like, let's talk about that. Arizona's a stronger person than me because I honestly don't think I could love, or even look at, someone the same way after all that. Just saying. Season 9, Episode 21. Dr. Bailey's meltdown over the staph infection is a masterclass in denial, self-righteousness, and the slow unraveling of a character who once seemed invincible. So Bailey has a batch of post-op patients with a deadly infection, and of course, the blame immediately falls on her intern, Leah Murphy. Bailey's reaction: ruthless. She doesn't even hesitate before throwing Leah under the bus, blaming her for the infection like it's a sure thing. But when the real culprit turns out to be faulty gloves, Bailey suddenly flips the script and starts blaming literally everything and everyone except herself. Classic avoidance. And then we get to the best part, her explosive confrontation with Richard. She's mad at him for not standing by her in her time of need. Wait, what? She's the one who's supposed to be the rock, not Richard. But apparently, in Bailey's world, standing by someone means ignoring all their flaws and keeping quiet while they make mistakes. Bailey brings up how she defended Richard when he was operating on patients drunk, which, she probably shouldn't have done. But here she is, screaming at him for not doing the same for her. Never mind that it was faulty gloves that spread the staph. In her mind, it's still everyone else's fault. What's really baffling is that Bailey can't seem to accept any responsibility. It's as if admitting fault would shatter her whole identity as the unshakable, always right doctor. Her ego, which has been running high since her days as a resident, is taking a serious hit and she's spiraling. That's where the mental health stuff comes in. She's dealing with shame and guilt, but instead of owning it, she tries to silence it by lashing out. In a twisted way, I think she genuinely expected Richard to step up and defend her, just like she did for him. But maybe she's forgetting that her unethical covering of him doesn't exactly make her the most reliable ally. Her double standards are glaring. When it's someone else at fault, she's all about the tough love. But when it's her, well, let's just say accountability isn't high on the agenda. And honestly, it's almost comical that Bailey, who used to lecture Izzy about not getting emotionally involved with patients, is the one who gets so emotionally invested in everything that she can't even process her own mistakes. She discovers the staph infection, goes completely numb, and sulks for days. The board follows protocol and calls the CDC. Bailey, she shuts them out. Richard mentions her infection to someone else. Cue the meltdown, because she's been carrying the burden of protecting him. And when she overhears Meredith messing with the Alzheimer's trial, somehow that becomes all about her failure as a mentor. It's like Bailey's whole world is a personal attack, and she's just not equipped to handle it. She may be an amazing surgeon, but when it comes to emotional regulation, Bailey's a mess. The higher up the ladder she climbs, the more people feel the brunt of her inability to handle anything that doesn't go her way. Bailey's spiral in this episode is both tragic and frustrating. It's clear she's in denial, refusing to own up to her part in the mess. But really, she's the last person to admit when she's wrong, even when it's glaringly obvious. So I'm finally catching up, and hold on to your seat. Surprisingly, it's gotten better. I gave up back in season 25, when Weber retired and, in true Weber fashion, decided to turn his vast Fox wealth into a pharmacy. Sure, it opened a whole new plotline, but then they hit us with episode after episode of Weber whining about how raising kids is exhausting for an old man. Yeah, no kidding, Richard. This isn't exactly new territory, and let's be real, we had nothing left to watch after that. So I did a full rewatch, because who doesn't want to relive the magic of the crash, the COVID era, PharmaFox, and the hurricane, right? Anyway, it's safe to say I came back, and oh, the sub was right. That runaway hippo episode, hands down the worst. Like, seriously, who thought it was a good idea to have Joe working at a zoo as a temp vet? Just because a hippo collapses and someone yells, "Is there a doctor here?" doesn't mean Joe's about to go full-on Dr. Dolittle. And the moment Joe is clinging to the neck of a half-drugged hippo running through the streets, did the writers look at that scene and think, yep, this is prime television? Like, really? I guess logic flew out the window faster than the hippo. But okay, I'll admit, things did improve. I'm finally caught up to season 29, and Myrrh starting her own college program. Now that was a refreshing twist. She's actually doing something with her life, besides moping about Derek and her eternal journey for self-discovery. Oh, and Alice? They could have totally butchered her as the Myrrh replacement, but credit where it's due. She's got depth without making us roll our eyes. As for the whole Zola taking over as the surgeon theory, yeah, sure, that's cute, but the show actually didn't shove that down our throats. Let Zola live her life and not become a carbon copy of her. Zola's going to be a chef now, because why not? And hey, at least her scalpel skills came in handy, right? And don't even get me started on Weber's arc. Season 27 finale, you know it was coming. Weber becoming a drug lord using his pharmacy as the cover for his underground empire. I mean, Catherine drowned in the floods in season 26, so obviously the next logical step for Richard was to run a drug ring. Oh, and he adopted a drug addict son to help him with the operation. Because why not? Talk about a man with goals. Oh, and Jo? Yep, she's back to living in her car after getting almost mauled by a zoo bear. Typical Jo. Decides she's going to be a vet for absolutely no reason. You'd think she'd have learned by now, but nope. And here's my prediction for season 30. Zola. She'll probably swoop in to save the day, performing open heart surgery on some waiter at a restaurant, because sure, she's basically a surgeon by osmosis at this point. After that, she'll go straight to Christina for an expedited surgical program, because why not?